Shalom, shalom, shalom. If you're in class, you know what I'm saying? Say your name, where you from. Get credit for coming to class. Get credit for you trying to learn what they will not teach you. You know what I'm saying? Nobody goes to college without accepting accreditation. This is higher than college. Accept your accreditation. You know what I'm saying? Bear with me one sec as I try to devise a plan to get me on Instagram. Got to devise a plan to get up on Instagram. Let me devise a plan real quick. All right, I'm up on the Instagram, Most High in Christ. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get it popping. I had a few technical difficulties, but we're going to get into the history. Today is Isupk Boston Monday history class, and we about to get into the history of Independence Day. We about to get into the history of 4th of July. We about to get into the history of our enemies' freedom and independence from their enemies. You know what I'm saying? So we're about to get into it. There's going to be a lot of reading of articles, a lot of reading of history. There's going to be a few scriptures pulled. But the bottom line, the question is, should America's independence be celebrated by Black and Hispanics? Should we celebrate their independence? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to type in the scriptures as I read them. In fact, I'm going to put in every I'm going to put in every I'm gonna put in every link I could put up right now. No, I ain't gonna put them up right now. As I go through them, I'm gonna put them up. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna start with this one. We're gonna start with the history of the 4th of July, a brief and abbreviated version of it. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start with an abbreviated version of it. And it's on the History Channel. I mean, not the History Channel, history.com. You know what I'm saying? This is about as PG as it gets. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it. 4th of July, Independence Day, by History.com editors. So this is the whole editing crew coming up with a solidified history, a universal and understandable history of Independence Day. You know, they got the retarded flag and the fireworks. You know what I'm saying? The 4th of July, also known as Independence Day or July 4th, has been a federal holiday in the United States since 1941. But the tradition of Independence Day celebration goes back to the 18th century. So I know a lot of people can understand this part. Like, let's put it toward Juneteenth. Before Juneteenth was made a federal holiday a few years back, places like Boston, Chicago, a lot of the whole state of Texas, you know what I'm saying, was celebrating Juneteenth way before it was a national holiday. And that's the same that's going on here. America was celebrating the independence of their country back in the 18th century, which is the 1700s. 1700s is the 18th century. So not soon after they got their independence, they were celebrating it. And they kept it a tradition since then. You know what I'm saying? So let's continue. But the tradition of Independence Day celebration goes back to the 18th century and the American Revolution, which is the, Revolutionary War. On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence. And 2 days later, delegates from the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence, a historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. Now, what you see here is that, you know what I'm saying, on July 2nd is when the plans were in motion. The war's over, so they wanted to declare it officially, put it on paper. And that's what they did. And by July 4th, all the 13 colonies have accepted it. All 13 of them. A historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. Let's continue. I didn't even say nothing. The white man's a goddamn devil. Hey, on YouTube, if I said anything offensive in the last 10 minutes, let me know. Let me know. Because TikTok just kicked me off. You know what I'm saying? But, that's what they do. Okay, but the Congress voted in favor of independence. And 2 days later, declarations from the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence. That means they accepted it. Remember, before 1776, all the colonies were their own separate governments. They wasn't under one government. A historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. From 1776 to the present day, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of America's independence, with festivities ranging from fireworks, parades, and concerts to more casual family gatherings and barbecues. The 4th of July is on Tuesday, July 4th, which is tomorrow, right? That is a brief summarization of it. When the initial battles of the Revolutionary War broke out in April 1775, few colonists desired complete independence from Great Britain. That's understandable. If you're scared, you're scared. For example, us African Americans today, we desire independence from America. But in this country, a lot of our louder voices, which do not represent the majority, do not want to separate from America. They don't think that we're able to sustain without America. They don't believe that we are able to cope without America, which those are the weak of our people. And the same people back then were the weak of America. You know what I'm saying? And those who did were considered radicals. And those who considered were radical. Just like the ISUPK. The Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge is considered radicals amongst Black and Hispanic people. We are considered the radicals. We are considered the unrational. We are considered the unreasonable of our people. By the middle of the following year, however, many more colonists had come to favor of independence. Thanks to growing hostility against Britain and the spread of revolutionary sentiments, such as those expressed in the best-selling pamphlet, Common Sense, published by Thomas Paine in early 1776. So they had to be influenced. They wasn't strong enough to come up with the brilliance of independence on their own. Just like Christian pastors aren't able to come up with the brilliant thought of being free from our oppressors today. It's the same thing. It's parallel. You know what I'm saying? It's very parallel. Our leaders today aren't able to understand in freeing ourselves from American rule, separating ourselves from American power. You know what I'm saying? They can't quite fathom it. You know what I'm saying? It's too much. It's too much for them to deal with. On June 7th, when the Continental Congress met at the Pennsylvania State House, later Independence Hall. So the Pennsylvania State House became Independence Hall. That's when we'll get into it. The Virginia delegate Richard Henry Lee introduced a motion calling the colonies independent. So Richard Lee said that we are independent. He was the first one to use that term. All right. Amid heated debate, Congress postponed the vote on Lee's resolution, but appointed a 5-man committee, including Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, James Adams of Massachusetts, Roger Sherman of Connecticut, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, and Robert R. Livingston of New York, to draft a formal statement justifying the break with Great Britain. So they had to come up with a constitution, a declaration of independence. They had to come up with a formal excuse on why they should separate from their oppressors. Should we do the same? No, I don't think we should take that route. We should just separate. We don't have to put up a declaration, an excuse, a permission slip. No, we don't got to do that. But what we got to do is just stick together, band together, love each other, just like they were doing in Americas back then. But let's continue. I ain't going to read that fact. Only on July 2nd, the Continental Congress voted in favor of Lee's resolution for independence in the near unanimous vote. The New York delegation abstained, but later voted affirmatively. So New York, they didn't want independence immediately, but they later joined in. On that day, John Adams wrote to his wife Abigail on July 2nd, will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival, and that the celebration should include pomp and parade, games and sports, guns, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations. That's fireworks. From the end of this continent to the other. So America's supposed to be celebrating this day forever. On July 4th, the Continental Congress formally adopted the Declaration of Independence, which had been written largely by Jefferson, though the vote for actual independence took place on July 2nd. From then on, the 4th became the day that was celebrated as the birth of American independence. So July 4th is declared the birth of independence. Even though the plan started on the 2nd, the 4th is when it was completed. Early 4th of July celebrations and traditions. In the pre-revolutionary years, colonists had held annual celebrations of the king's birthday, which traditionally included the ringing of bells, bonfires, processions, and speech making. By contrast, during the summer of 1776, some colonists celebrated the birth of independence by holding mock funerals of King George III as a way of symbolizing the end of the monarchy hold on America and the triumph of liberty. Now, you see that? You see that? Like, for example, America looks down on Black and Hispanics for making fun of those rich people that died in that darn Titanic submersible situation. But they were making fun of the king of Europe that had subjugation over America at the time. It was okay for them to enjoy the death of their enemies, but it's not okay for Black and Hispanics to do the same. It's not okay. That's what I got to ask you. It's not okay. Hold on, I got a scripture for y'all. You with me? Damn, I can't find it. Bear with me one sec. Cause this scripture just popped in my head as I was reading it. Bear with me. I feel like I'm close. I feel like I'm close. Oh man, I can't. Something about fall of enemies. Fall of enemies. Found it. All right, bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. All right. Bear with me. I'm going to type this into the chat. I want y'all to catch up with this. All right, there are 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy. Now, this is a righteous man telling you that there's 9 things that can universally make any man happy. These are 9 things. I'm not going to read all 9. I'm just going to get to my point, right? And the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, like a man that has joy of his children is a man that has children that follows his instructions, that does what he says, that follow his rules, that follow his own way of life. And those will make any man happy, right? And a man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemies. Him that lived to see the fall of his enemies, that is a beautiful thing. That is about as beautiful as it gets. There is no error in seeing the fall of your enemies. And that's what America wanted to see. That's what America wanted to see on some realness. You know what I'm saying? America wanted to see the fall of its enemies. You know what I'm saying? And when they celebrated the death of King George, they were celebrating the death of their enemy. So when you see Black and Hispanics celebrating and making jokes in light of the death of some rich white men that gave their life away for $250,000, yeah, you should expect it. Because that's the same thing y'all did with King George. Y'all celebrated his death. We are celebrating their death. We will celebrate the death of every oppressor, period. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Festivities including concerts, bonfires, parades, and the firing of cannons and muskets. See, the firing of cannons and muskets have been replaced with, firecrackers. You know what I'm saying? It has been replaced with firecrackers. But accompanied the first public readings of the Declaration of Independence. Beginning immediately after its adoption, Philadelphia held the first annual commemoration of independence on July 4th, 1777. So the next year, Philadelphia made the first public declaration of it as a celebration. It's not bad. It's not bad. But I could go on about it. Let's continue a little bit further. George Washington issued double rations of rum to all his soldiers to mark the anniversary of independence in 1778 and in 1781. So George Washington gave them a little extra something to drink on to celebrate their independence. Several months before the key American victory at the Battle of Yorktown, Massachusetts became the first state to make July 4th an official state holiday. which is why the Revolutionary War and Independence Day is such a big deal in Massachusetts. We were the first ones to make it an official holiday. You know, other people might have celebrated before Massachusetts, but us in Massachusetts, we made it an official holiday before everybody else. And that's the issue. Because if we did the same thing as Black and Hispanics, all hell would break loose. All hell would break loose. You know what I'm saying? But let's drop this. Let's drop this. Stop sharing. And I got another article. I got another article because these Caucasians that fought in the Revolutionary War and made the Declaration of Independence and made it a holiday, they did not do it alone. They did not do it alone. But unfortunately, us Black and Hispanics, for us to gain independence from our enemy, we're going to have to depend on each other and nobody else. Nobody else wants us to be independent. Nobody else wants us to be free. Nobody else wants us to be, you know what I'm saying, out there and about and on our own fruition doing what we need to do to sustain our people. They do not want that, period. You know what I'm saying? Salaki Baba Kushal. I sent something I was supposed to send to somebody else, to the wrong person. But you can hear in the background, they celebrating their enemy's independence right now. Look, I live in the hood. I live amongst the, Black and Hispanic people in a well mixed area where it's well mixed between Black and Hispanics. And I'm going to hear a lot of fireworks in the celebration of their independence, which is a sad thing. It's sad because their independence led for them to treat us as freely as they wanted to. It led them to abuse us as much as they wanted to. Because listen, around that time of 1776, guess what Europe was doing? They was abolishing slavery. They was abolishing slavery. You know what I'm saying? Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. When was slavery abolished in, let's go with England. Let me show you. It was only after many failed attempts that in 1807 the slave trade in the British Empire was abolished. However, slaves in the colonies, which is America, and the European colonies, of course, areas ruled by the East India Company, were not freed until 1838. And only after slave owners, rather than the slaves themselves, received compensation. So the slave owners were just like in America. So it was around 1807 is when slavery was abolished in England. Well, was slavery abolished in America? When was it abolished in America? Let's look that up. Damn near 58 years later. Passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, and ratified on December 6th, 1865. So it was passed on January, and they ratified it on damn near a year later. Which ratify means to, get the final T's crossed and the final I's dotted. You know what I'm saying? To solidify it. So then they're 58 years later. So if you go onto our TikTok, right? If you go onto the ISUPK Boston TikTok, you will see a video of a woman that is being interviewed by, I believe, Officer Ricard. And the woman wanted to say that we are the leaders of freedom for Black people, which is not true. Europe abolished slavery way before America. They're there 58 years before America. And so many other countries did it even before Europe. Before England. France did it before England, last I checked, because the Haitians kicked their ass so bad they didn't want no more smoke. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go back into the reading. Hold on, let me show it back up on me. All right. But that lets you know when it was what's the name. But let's get back into it a bit. Let's read a little further. We on the Library of Congress. If you understand what the Library of Congress is, that is like the library of libraries. All the information you want is there, guaranteed. How well do they hide it from you? Well, that's a different story. But they are guaranteed to hide it from you. But let's get into it. Hold on, let me check something real quick. Let me check. Do I got any if you got any questions, you can ask it. You know what I'm saying? I see we got a few people in the class. If you got any questions, you can ask it. But let me get this, let me copy it. This is where we are right now. All right, so let's read. No, it might be hard for some of y'all to read on your phones or whatever y'all viewing from, but I'll read it out loud for you. The introduction. Hold on, let me read the title first. American Minority Groups in the Revolutionary War. So this is about the Black and Hispanics that played a part in America's so-called independence, which is sad. We should have never played a part in it, because most likely they would have lost it, or we would have been free a whole lot earlier. Because America was one of the last countries to free slaves. Racial and ethnic minority groups took part in the American Revolutionary War on both the Patriot and the loyalist sides. So we were fighting on the America side and the UK side. They took part as soldiers and sailors. They provided intelligence on enemy troops and plans. They worked as craftsmen, laborers, and farmers. Many were enslaved Africans and African Americans who served in various labor roles. Some African Americans won their freedom by joining the fight against the rebellion. Now, let me tell you something about that. That is very deceptive because I don't know. There was a movie that came out not too long ago. Something a slave, 14 years a slave, 4 years a slave, or something like that. I don't know. But it's something a matter of time a slave, and how this brother was free for a certain amount of time because he went to the north and they got them slave catchers up there and they dragged him back. Now, a lot of brothers back then felt that same pain. They felt that same pain. They fought in the Revolutionary War. They thought they were free, and they were dragged back to slavery. They were dragged. A lot of African Americans and a lot of Hispanics fought for revolution in this country and went back into slavery. A whole lot of them. The majority, actually. The majority of them. See, when you get into an argument with our oppressor about this subject, they would talk about the few. They would talk about the few, how they were free, how the few were slaves, were free in America and enslaved African Americans too. They would talk about the few, but they won't talk about the majority. You know what I'm saying? They will not talk about the majority, which is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting on so many levels. You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about it. Where I live off at. Okay. Some African Americans won their freedom by joining the fight against the rebellion as British soldiers. Other African Americans served in the Continental Navy as well as on merchant ships. Various Native American tribes fought on both sides. So our Native brothers and sisters, see, a lot of y'all, which hurts me to my heart. I mean, we gotta admit this as Black people. Black people, we like to believe that we caught the worst of it. But what y'all don't understand that natives were slaves before us. The Native Americans were slaves before us. They had their fight, and their fight was no different from ours. They went through the same hell we went through. They were tarred and feathered. They were lynched. They were drawn and quartered. They went through the same hell. Their women were hung, and the babies were cutting out. They had that early brutal abortion, just like our women did. They had that same thing. So why would you trust them? They the ones that did it to us. Why would you trust them? You know what I'm saying? Immigrants of others sympathetic to the American rebellion took part in the struggle. That means the Italians, the Irish, you know what I'm saying, maybe a few Africans and Arabians and stuff. They took part of it. They came from the Caribbean, France, various German states, such as Hesse, Prussia, Ireland, Poland, Scotland, Spain, and other European countries, and regions to support the Patriot cause. Foreign troops also took part in the war on both sides, especially from France and from German states. Many of these men remained in the United States after the war. America got a lot of help. America was no different from Ukraine, crying and begging for help back then. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, our people, as Black and Hispanics, we helped them out. Though a few of us was helping the loyalist side, a lot of us was helping the patriot side, which was to our detriment. Because while those other countries, they helped America, guess what happened to them? They got the right to celebrate in their independence. But when we helped America, what happened to us? We returned home, went back on that plantation, or we was on the run from the slave catchers. You know what I'm saying? As they celebrated their independence. We was not free. Black, Hispanic, and natives were not free. We were enslaved or running from our slave catchers. One of the two. You know what I'm saying? Should I go any further? Should I go any further? No, there's nothing further to go on other than some great art pieces. A lot of great art pieces. And in Massachusetts, where if you go on our TikTok on ISUPK Boston, you will see that we had some interviews with a lot of Caucasians around a revolutionary monument in Boston. And around that revolutionary monument, a lot of these white people literally, Slovakia. Let me turn that down. A lot of these white people literally, right? They literally showed their colors. They believe Black people should be happy and should celebrate the independence of America. But at the same time, I asked them, did you celebrate Juneteenth, which is the so-called independence of Black, Hispanic, and natives? And did they celebrate it? No, they did not. But it is expected of us to celebrate their independence. So I suggest for you to go onto our TikTok, check out those videos, see those videos. You know what I'm saying? But let me show you another video. Let me share another screen with you. On the onset of the War for Independence, approximately 500,000 African Americans lived in the colonies, of whom some 450,000, about 90%, it's about a good 90%, were enslaved. So while those Caucasian people that want to talk about how there was free Black people in America, only 10%. It's only 10%. And a lot of those 10% was literally oppressed. They weren't free like that. They were on the lookout. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't trust nobody. But Black fought in provincial regiments prior to the war. And roughly 5,000 African American soldiers and sailors, free and slave, served the revolutionary cause. So about 0.10% fought in the revolutionary cause. We fought for our oppressors' independence. Which brings me to another topic, but that's about Juneteenth. Juneteenth shouldn't be celebrated either because it's not something that we fought for. Our oppressor gave it to us. Our oppressor gave us our freedom. What was our fight? Who took the lives of our enemies for this? Another question for a different day. You know what I'm saying? But let's see. Now that we know Negroes were a part of it, let's see something. Let's see something. The Hispanic American history timeline between 1776 and 1783. Spain deemed the American army a viable ally after troops led by General George Washington captured the Hessian, which is German garrison, in the Battle of Trenton, New Jersey. Spain's agreement to work in support of the Continental Army, although covertly, formally established the Hispanic participation in the most important war in American history. So, America did Spain a favor, which was taking over a fort in Trenton, New Jersey. Now, then taking over that fort in Trenton, New Jersey, led Spain to join hand in hand with America. Now, in that being so, guess what happened? America did not, Spain did not send their own. Spain sent their slaves, which was the Hispanics. I know there's a lot of Hispanic brothers who believe that they weren't slaves or believe that they are Hispanics. That believe that they are Spaniards. But that's not true. You were a slave. Your family speaking Spanish for a reason. Spanish is the language of Spaniards. That's not the language your people were speaking before the Spaniards put you into slavery. What was the language you were speaking? A lot of y'all like to pretend like y'all know what it was, but y'all don't. Because y'all speak what y'all spoke before and call it by some other name. But a lot of ancient Hebrew scholars would tell you you were speaking Hebrew. There's not a lot of vowels or phonetical vowels, but the language you were speaking was Hebrew. You just got to accept it. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. The Hessians are German mercenaries hired to fight for the British. The small victory in an array of losses for General Washington encourages more American colonists to enlist and prompts Spain's King Carlos III to covertly begin supporting Washington and his troops. Spain secretly sends supplies to American ports, aiding the colonists by smuggling materials from Cuba and other Caribbean islands. Now listen to that. They support America. You know what I'm saying? By manpower, of course. They sent a lot of natives their way. But they're also sent them by aiding the colonists by smuggling materials from Cuba and the Caribbean islands. They didn't earn them, they didn't buy those materials, they smuggled them. They robbed the people, they robbed our people to aid America. But let's continue. King Carlos III encourages his American subjects to donate pesos to fund the cost of the war. Yet Spain's support of the colonial rebellion against a monarchy remains mostly undercover. A lot of people don't know about this. A lot of people don't know about it. And he funded it by the people. It wasn't taxes. It wasn't tithes. It wasn't. He robbed the people. And who the people he robbed? Most likely Hispanics. Yet Spain's support of a colonial rebellion against a monarchy remains mostly undercover to prevent a riotous rebellion in their own nation. So it wasn't even a public in Spain. The people of Spain wasn't for this rebellion. So they had to do it secretly. They had to do it secretly. But let's continue. Sloppy. Let me check something real quick. See if there's any more. No, no more, no more, no more, no. Hold on. Bear with me, bear with me. All right, now that I got that up there, let me read some more of that. Read some more. Spain secretly sends troop supplies to American ports, aiding the colonists by smuggling material from Cuba and the Caribbean islands. King Carlos encourages his American subjects to donate pesos to fund the cost of the war. He didn't encourage, and I say encourage loosely because we know what he really meant. He didn't encourage the people of Spain. He encouraged the American subjects. That means the people in Florida, in Louisiana, the people in Central America and South America. He encouraged them to send money to support his political interests, which is not your political interest as a people. It is not your political interest. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's continue. But that's until, with King Carlos III's blessing, Don Bernardo de Galvez, the the governor of Louisiana enters Spain into the fight of the 13 colonies, blatantly declaring Hispanic participation in the army, in the American army. So after King Carlos left, his what do you call the person that comes after you? His basically the person that comes after him. You know what I'm saying? The person that comes after him, they he told the person that came after him told the Hispanic that they got to participate, that they got to send their that they got to support the American fight. And look at how that worked out for them today. America forgets who helped them on their fight for freedom. America forgets that. America forgets what the so-called Mexicans have done, what the so-called Puerto Ricans have done, what the so-called Dominicans and the so-called Nicaraguans and Bolivians. They forget all that. And what do? They put their babies in cages. They separate the child from the parent because they're just that evil. They're just that evil. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Oops, my fault. Um, Yet Spain's support of the colonial rebellion against a monarchy remains mostly undercover to prevent a riotous rebellion in their own nation. But that's until the King Carlos III blessing Bernardo de Galvez, the Spanish governor of Louisiana, entered Spain into the fight of the 13 colonies, blatantly declaring Hispanic participation in the American army. Galvez leads an army of thousands of Hispanic soldiers, mostly from Mexico and the Caribbean Spanish colonies, also the Gulf of Mexico, defeating the British in Natchez, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida. The success of his military operations, in effect, covered Washington's rear flank, allowing the Continental Army to concentrate on fighting the British along the Eastern Front. So Galvez is like the Southern Washington. Galvez actually could have been president. He sacrificed thousands of Hispanic brothers and sisters for Americans' freedom. America owes a debt to Hispanics and natives. As they're eating their hot dogs and hamburgers, they need to be thinking about these brothers and sisters that's locked up in cages on the other side of the border and everything else. In fact, on July 4th, they should open up the border. If they really are appreciative of the sacrifices that Black and Hispanics have made, they should open up the border. Every July 4th, free entry. Free fucking entry. But they're not like that. They're not built like that. They're not built like that at all. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's continue. Galvez successful military operation along the Gulf of Mexico opens up a supply channel along the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, by which Spain can send weapons, gunpowder, military uniforms, and even cattle to Washington's troops, while avoiding British interference. Spain's aid and Galvez's heroic success were a surprise to the British and are huge factors that affected the outcome of the American Revolutionary. Galvez's conduct during the pivotal time in American and Hispanic history has not gone unnoticed. In 2014, a joint resolution of the U.S. Congress signed by President Barack Obama. Wow, it's that recent. It's that it's that it's that recent that they recognized it. Made Galvez an honorary citizen of the United States. The man been dead for how? It doesn't even matter. He's not even a brother or sister. He's a freaking Spaniard. He is an oppressor. Barack Obama made this oppressor. He made this oppressor a citizen of the United States. Now, don't get it wrong. Those cages in Mexico were started by Obama, and he made this Spaniard a citizen before the brothers and sisters who who actually gave their lives for America's freedoms. They're descendants of those who actually gave their lives for America's independence. I understand Obama is just an African. He is not like us. He is not meant to be like us. He is nowhere near like us. He is an oppressor too. But damn, that was heavy. That was heavy. That was about as heavy as it gets right there. You know what I'm saying? That was incredible. That was freaking incredible. I'm gonna have one more before I get into a couple of scripts. I'm gonna have one more article to get into. You know what I'm saying? Which will make you understand that slavery was abolished. No, no, actually, I think that was it. I think I already talked about when slavery was abolished, right? Yeah, I did. I don't want to get into want to get into a couple of scriptures real quick. All right. We want to get into a couple of scriptures. Bear with me 1 second. Let's get with it. Amos 5:21. Right. Now it says, I despise your feast days. One of the biggest feast days that us as Black Hispanics and American natives accept is 4th of July. We accept that. We gather together. We come together. You know, we celebrate America's independence. And the Most High said he will not accept our feast days. That is the feast days of ours. We have taken on as if it benefited us. We took it on as if it's our day. But let's continue. I hate, I despise your feast days. I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Like, look, you know, I'm a rather big boy, you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing I like more than the smell of charcoal in the air. Burning charcoal attracts me. It's probably one of the best smells I could think of. You put some meat on that, ooh, it's even better. Mm. The smell of grilled food is heaven sent. But get what the Most High said. He will not smell it. He don't care to smell that. The smell is atrocious to him. He don't want to smell your barbecuing. He don't want to smell your chicken on the grill, your pork chops, whatever you're putting on there. I'm pretty sure y'all putting some type of abomination on your grill. Y'all putting all types of pork sausage, a fucking Boston butt. Y'all putting all types of things on there that the Most High don't accept. And y'all doing it on a day that the Most High don't accept you to do it, which makes you weak. It makes you cowards. Us in the ISUPK, we are not that. We are not congregating on these holidays either. At the most, I might call a brother on a totally outside subject tomorrow that has nothing to do with their independence. That's about the most congregation I'm going to be doing. Unlike other Israelite groups, yeah, they'll come together and not. They'll come together and not celebrate their oppressor's independence. But if you really didn't want to celebrate, guess what you would do? You would not congregate at all. That's what makes you Christians. That's what makes them Christians. That's what makes them not like us. You know what I'm saying? They are the weak, we are the strong. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line. But hold on. All right, we're going to the Apocrypha, which y'all know that's my joint. That's my joint. I think we're going to start at 28. I think we're going to start at 28. So I can get a clear picture of what's going on here. Ecclesiastes chapter 40, verse 28. My son, lead not a beggar's life, for better it is to die than to beg. All our marches for freedom, recognition, even for so-called independence, is begging. If you're not fighting for it, you are begging. If your enemy's blood ain't on your sword, you are begging. Just that clear. It is just that clear. Let's continue. The life of him that dependeth on another man's table. Look, July 4th is another man's table. July 4th is not our table. We are celebrating another man's independence. That is the table that he should be celebrating at. He is celebrating with his family, his people, his independence from his oppressor. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not mad at it. That's what he's supposed to be doing. But let's continue. The life of him that dependeth on another man's table is not to be counted for life. You're not even alive. All y'all waving y'all red, white, and blue, rocking the red, white, and blue clothes, y'all. Y'all not, you're not alive. You're not alive. Y'all eating at another man's table. That's not y'all independence. You are a fucking slave in this country, and you can't even fucking understand it. You out here rocking that red, white, and blue as if you're somebody special, as if they give a fuck about you. When you're about as expendable as a crackhead on Mass Ave, you're expendable. You know where you're not expendable at? The ISUPK. Over here, we take care of our own. We take care of our people. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. For he polluted himself with other men's meat. The 4th of July is another man's meat. That is his meat. It's his table, his meat. It's his purpose. It's his life. It's his enjoyment. And you trying to enjoy it with him? But a wise man, well nurtured, will beware thereof. If you're wise, you won't celebrate the 4th of July. If you're wise, you will not have nothing to do with it. If you're wise, you will come amongst your brothers. Have a dwelling place, a safe place for you to grow stronger, to take care of your own people. But let's continue. Verse 30. Begging is sweet in the mouth of the shameless. Like Al Sharpton is shameless. Martin Luther King is shameless. Malcolm X was shameless. Real men don't beg. Plain and simple. Real men don't beg. We do not beg. What we do is fight. What we do is lead. What we do is educate. Last thing we're doing is begging. If you don't see us as equals, if you don't see us as superiors, then war is on hand. War is to come. And with that, shalom.